You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2020, start of a brand new week, start of a brand new month. We have got a lot to talk about today, and as usual, I'm going to talk about news until I run out of news, at which point we will open up the phone lines for your comments, questions, opinions, and observations here. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble. So let's get right back into it. Obviously, the big news over the weekend, at least if you're a space geek like I am, and I'm definitely a space geek here, SpaceX Dragon Crew capsule returned safely to Earth. In fact, it went so smoothly, it was almost anticlimactic. You know, it's like watching somebody park a car. And the only negatives that happened is there was a detectable a degree of fumes from the hypergolic fuels used for the thrusters. And the other part, and this was kind of a little tacky, is a lot of people came out in their private boats to watch the recovery, and they got perhaps a little bit closer than needed to be the case here. And I imagine probably in future recoveries they'll have either the Coast Guard or some private boats out there just to keep them back to a reasonable distance. And at one point, one boat sailed between the capsule and the recovery ship, flying what appeared to be a Trump flag, which I thought was a little bit tacky, and maybe they were trying to make Trump look bad. But the end here is that two NASA astronauts, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken, basically rode the Dragon Crew capsule back to Earth, bobbed about in the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, which, considering the tropical storm / hurricane that's on the other side of Florida, was remarkably calm and smooth. And the recovery just went very, very well. So America's back in the space business, and congratulations to everybody over there at SpaceX and Elon Musk. And it was exciting to watch just because it's been so long. It's been 45 years since the last time Americans had a splashdown. That was at the end of the Apollo-Soyuz mission. And of course, it's been almost a decade since Americans flew in space on an American spaceship. We've been, hitching rides with the Russians to get up to the ISS. Well, that has all changed now. And so from now on, we've got private space flight is a reality. We know that Virgin Galactic is getting ready for their space tourism business. The tickets for that are going to be about $250,000 each. Well worth it if you've got the money. I mean, getting into space is on my bucket list. And Boeing, of course, despite their setback last year, they're getting ready to launch their reusable orbital transfer system. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. But it's an exciting time for people who are involved in space exploration, and it was definitely fun to watch. Okay, now the other big story that came over the weekend: the Federal Court of Appeals in the First Circuit vacated the death sentence for the Boston Marathon bombing, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. And basically, the FBI does not justify a guilty conviction. There's a reasonable doubt. The only reason that Tsarnaev was convicted is his court-appointed lawyer literally walked into the courtroom and told the jury he did it. Should have been disbarred on that point alone here. But the FBI's evidence, if there really was a bombing, the Tsarnaev brothers were not involved. And of course, I've been putting up my little graphic showing the Tsarnaev brothers were wearing gray backpacks, and the remnants of the bombs were in black backpacks with these very identifiable white squares on the top, which do not appear on Tsarnaev. The whole idea of a jury trial is you have to think they're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this one graphic, there's the reasonable doubt right there. Absolutely the reasonable doubt. The whole thing was a false flag fake. The Tsarnaevs got to be the scapegoats, the sacrificial lambs. Now, Trump is out there demanding the federal government go after the death penalty again. saying that nobody deserves it more than Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Well, Trump, you're not doing your due diligence on this one. And as the president, your job is oversight to see if maybe the government has made a mistake somewhere, because this government does make mistakes. Iraq being a good one. So President Donald Trump yesterday said the federal government should once again seek the death penalty for Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, while venting his frustration that the entire process was taking so long. Well, what do you want to do, Trump? Just walk him out there on the back lawn or out to the Rose Garden and shoot him yourself? Better that it takes too long than an innocent person gets sent to the jail. And innocent people do get executed. Bruno Richard Hauptmann comes to mind. In the years since that travesty of justice, it's pretty much been obvious he got framed and railroaded because it was politically necessary to have somebody to pay for the Lindbergh baby kidnapping and killing, which turned out to not be a kidnapping at all, but a cover for an accidental killing of the baby. All right, getting on to our local protests and stuff, the Austin police on horseback have cleared out the occupied streets of Black Lives Matter and Antifa goons. Good for them. It's Texas. They got horses down there. And here's a very, very interesting observation from Zero Hedge talking about peaceful riots. Apparently, the new description for a riot that involves the breaking of windows and smashing of trash cans and setting of fires and attack on police, they don't call them violent riots anymore. They call them riots that intensified. Okay, that's the new thing. It's a peaceful demonstration, but it intensified. And so legal scholar Eugene Volk wonders how this terminology would work in court. You are being charged with an intensified peaceful demonstration in the second degree. How do you plead? It's like the language itself is now under attack. These are violent riots. They're not peaceful protests that just intensified. They're violent riots. Let's call them what they are. Now, this story just absolutely makes me sick. This is down in Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Police Department has circulated a series of tips for residents in response to a spike in carjackings and robberies. They're saying, cooperate with the criminals. Do what they say. Give up your wallet, purse, and cell phone. This is the new normal under democratic rule. Go along with criminals. Well, Mr. Minneapolis police officer, let me ask you a question. What if the person you're confronting wants to kill you? Or rape you, or rape your wife and your children? What are you going to do then? Cooperate? Isn't that what the police are for? We're hearing all across the country, police departments are being defunded in response to the Black Lives Matter Antifa demands. Seattle's talking about completely disbanding their police department and replacing it with a citizen-run protective detail of some kind. Little fuzzy on the description, little fuzzy on the details. But this is nuts. And what really annoys me is we're being told, don't judge Antifa and Black Lives Matter by the actions of a few violent individuals, but please blame the entire police force for the actions of a few individual police officers who step across the line. A little bit of a double standard there. If we're going to disband the police department, let's disband Black Lives Matter. Let's disband Antifa, because violence is wrong. And if you're going to take a few bad cops and use them to shut down the entire police department, then let's take a few bad apples within Black Lives Matter and Antifa and use them to shut all of that down. Because that's where the violence is coming from. Okay, apparently toward the end of last week, there was a bit of a whoopsie involving a training mishap with the Marine Corps. And apparently they lost one of their amphibious vehicles with its crew, and they've called off the search for the 8 missing troops, and they're missing, presumed dead from this training mishap. And this was announced yesterday that they've said, basically, we're not going to find them. Sharks probably got them. A lot of shark attacks along the eastern seaboard all of a sudden, just in time for Discovery Channel's Shark Week. I wonder if that's got to do with the reporting of shark stories, because I'm seeing a lot of them all of a sudden. They're even rerunning the Jaws movies this week. Everybody's jumping on board, Shark Week. Got to push the product, push the show. And apparently next weekend they're having some kind of an event with Mike Tyson in a shark cage, which, you know, Claire thinks it's shamefully exploiting the fact that he's an old guy. And I don't know, they've sort of run out of things to talk about sharks. And they're out there with these series of commercials about the two pickles. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll find out eventually. All right, let's talk about COVID-19. A lot of stuff going on with there. A senior Trump administration health official is rejecting hydroxychloroquine as a coronavirus treatment. Now, Trump, of course, has promoted the use of the antimalarial drug as a treatment for the ongoing coronavirus. Testing the drug for use in treating COVID-19 is being blocked by international health bodies, which have noted the compound's adverse effects on patients. That's got nothing to do with it. It's all about the money. Hydroxychloroquine has been around for a long time. It cannot be patented. It has to be sold generic, and that means no profitability, no huge market price markup, no exclusive marketability. That's really what it's all about. They want something new, something patentable, something that will generate huge amounts of profits for the pharmaceutical industry. Anything that works but can't be patented, forget it. They're not interested. They're not interested in anything that comes out of nature. They're not interested in anything that's been around for 150 years. They're not interested in anything that actually works, unless, of course, it can be brought into the business model of an ongoing, costly treatment. Anyway, an official in the U.S. government pandemic response team yesterday affirmed that there is zero evidence that hydroxychloroquine is a workable treatment for the COVID-19 coronavirus. Now, he can state it, he can't affirm it, because there have been tests, there are doctors out there saying, yes, this stuff works. Anyway, a Trump administration testing figure, Brett Giroir, was on Meet the Press and says he's unable to support hydroxychloroquine as a treatment as trials do not show any benefit. Well, there are trials that do show a benefit. But again, this is all about the money. This is all about maintaining profitability for those pharmaceutical companies, which I'm sure members of the government have plenty of those stocks in their portfolios. Now, here's a little scary story here. This is from shtfplan.com. Apparently, the Pentagon will be helping the CDC mass distribute the COVID vaccine. Are you still sure it's not going to be mandatory? Because all of a sudden, the CDC is getting partnered up with all these guys who carry guns around. Now, they're claiming there's a new coronavirus vaccine right around the corner thanks to Operation Warp Speed, and they want to get it on out there, and the Pentagon's going to help them deal with the logistics of getting it out. I still think about 1976 and the swine flu vaccine that was mandated for all Americans, and they had to call the program off about a quarter of the way in when it came out that the vaccine was killing more people than the flu was. Then you had the 2009 when pigs fly flu, where the Tamiflu turned out to be no more effective than acetaminophen, except, of course, that it was causing brain damage. Then you have these other vaccines lately that have led to Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a neurological disorder. It's permanent, by the way. Once you get it, there's no going back. You're stuck with it for life. And then you had those vaccine scandals in Europe where these kids were getting narcolepsy from their vaccines, where they were perfectly healthy kids. And after the vaccine, they would just drop off to sleep at random intervals. And here in this country, of course, vaccine companies are indemnified from all harm. You can't sue them if they cause damage. You have to go to the vaccine court, which, even though its bias is to say it's all in your head and all your imagination, they have handed out billions and billions of dollars to people who've been injured by these vaccines. And this is for a product which has never exceeded a 50% effectiveness rate. If you vaccinate 100 people against disease, creeping blorch, less than 50 of them will actually develop any immunity. And the immunity is always short-lived. Now, there have been some vaccines in history that worked, but a lot of them don't. It's gone from being something to actually try and prevent disease into being just another money-making operation. Push the product, stick the needle, get the money. That's it. Now, Russia is planning for their first mass COVID-19 vaccinations in October amid global skepticism. Russia's health ministry has announced it expects to begin mass vaccinations by October, with the first rounds to be administered to frontline medical workers as well as teachers. We plan wider vaccinations for October, according to Health Minister Mikhail Murashko, who was speaking on Saturday after he described that Moscow-based state research facility, the Gamaleya Institute, has completed clinical trials of an effective vaccine. Well, good for them. And you can expect the Russia bashing to take off, because we don't want a Russian vaccine here in the United States. We want an American vaccine produced by an American company, paid for in American dollars. It really is all about the money here. Apparently, there's a riot down in a prison in South Georgia because of a COVID-19 flare-up. Down in Texas, the state health department has corrected the death toll after mistakenly attributing 225 deaths to COVID-19. And now you have the director of the CDC who's gone public admitting there is a monetary incentive to inflate the coronavirus death count, something that we've been pointing out to you for a very, very long time. They get more money by declaring this patient ill with coronavirus. They get more money by putting patients on ventilators. They get more money by saying that this or that person died of COVID-19. And dying with COVID-19 is not the same thing as dying of COVID-19, because the vast majority of these deaths that are being attributed to COVID-19 involve people who had other life-shortening conditions or who had died from a completely different cause. We've had people who died in car accidents put down as dead from COVID-19. I'm expecting they're going to start teaching in churches that Jesus died of COVID-19. That's how out of control and crazy it's become. There's been another COVID-19 outbreak on a Norwegian cruise liner. At least 40 passengers and crew have been diagnosed with COVID, and officials are trying to trace 387 people who disembarked before the outbreak was detected. There's something about those cruise ships that the COVID virus absolutely, absolutely loves. Now, for those of you worried about your weight, and I'm one of them, apparently obese people are twice as likely to die from COVID, and apparently increased alcohol consumption is only making things worse. Of course, when you're stuck at home, you've got nothing to do but eat and drink in your self-isolation. Sort of between the rock and the hard place here. Well, as you know, they're still talking about a proposed COVID-19 bill, a new round of stimulus. And as is typical of Washington, D.C., the pork barrel is out, and there's a lot of stuff inside this bill which has got really nothing to do with COVID-19, even though it's all justified as preparing the country to deal with COVID-19. So let's see, they're talking about $1 trillion, of which $283 million to the Army for new build Apache Block 3B attack helicopters, $375 million to the Army for upgrades for its double V-hull Stryker 8x8 armored wheeled vehicles, $1 billion to the Navy for P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, $41 million to the Navy for RGM-184A naval strike missiles, $2 billion to the Navy, $1.4 billion for 4 expeditionary medical ships, and $260 million for a single Spearhead class expeditionary fast transport. $49 million to the Navy for sonobuoys, $686 million to the Air Force for F-35A Joint Strike Fighters. What are they going to do? Shoot the virus with that thing? $720 million to the Air Force for C-130J Hercules airlifters, $650 million to the Air Force for wing replacement kits for the A-10, and so forth and so forth and so on. Really not a lot in there for ordinary Americans who are actually having to deal with COVID-19. But it keeps going on. Warthog replacement kits for the wings, THAAD batteries, another THAAD battery. I'm just looking at this list going down here. $800 million from the National Guard and Reserve Equipment account. And especially down here to the bottom, $48 million to the Army for, quote, other procurement. $34 million to the Navy for other procurement. $484,000 for defense-wide other procurement. They're not even saying what they're spending the money on. Just the money's going to be spent. Let's spend it on the war machine, and so what if people are dying and going hungry and losing their homes? The war is what makes this country great here. The administration wants $377 million to remodel the West Wing of the White House. And they're sticking that in the virus relief bill. When we restart this country as part of the blueprint for the new America, we've got to say one bill, one purpose. None of these other purposes will drive us. We've got to take a break for commercial. We'll be right back.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show. Here we're going to talk about, well, first of all, a reminder that Republic Broadcasting is holding a perpetual fundraiser. So is whatreallyhappened.com. We need to replace old equipment. We're trying to sort of improve things, get a 5-second delay and various other equipment to sort of get our production a little more professional than it has been. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. I thank you. And again, to those who've already donated, our heartfelt gratitude. We wouldn't be here without you. All right, so let's talk about the domestic political news here right now. Donald Trump's renomination, which is taking place on August 21st, they're going to hold their convention without the press and public access. Apparently, they're of the opinion the press may not be too sympathetic to what's going on. Mostly it's because Trump has had to bounce his convention around from all these state governors saying, no, you can't have it here. COVID-19, you're diseased. We don't want you. So they're going to have the convention. They're going to stream the main event online for those of you who want to watch, even though it is a study in foregone conclusions, but they're closing it to the public and press, and that'll be on the 21st. Now, little bit of good news going into that convention. A new poll released this weekend shows that President Trump has taken a national and battleground states lead over Joe Biden. Joe Biden's in a little bit of trouble. First of all, he's not going to be announcing his VP pick this week, had been indicated. And more to the point, Democrats are urging Biden not to debate Trump, and they're trying to figure out some way that they can sell this to the American people as a good thing. It would be a waste of time for them to debate. Biden's fine. We have to, we don't need to have them talking with each other. But Democrats across the country have begun to pressure the Biden campaign to call off all debates with Donald Trump due to the coronavirus pandemic. That's what they're trying to blame it on. It's got nothing to do with coronavirus. It's Biden's case of hoof in mouth that is worrying people right now. Okay, we have a caller on the line. This is Dr. Kelly. He's an RBN host. And Dr. Kelly, I understand you have something on the COVID vaccine. What's going on?
Oh, I just wanted to try to bring in a little humor to this thing because it's so ridiculous. I love how John Stadtmiller was calling it the coronavirus. And I'm so tired of it. I'm like that little girl that it's on a YouTube video. She goes, I'm tired of Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. And she just couldn't take it anymore. And it's just like torture to hear.
Yes.
The non-healthcare professional discuss it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, just, let's call scarf and barf as we see it, meaning, who and who. And the good news is that there's so much documentation in a wonderful book called What If Everything You Thought You Knew About AIDS Was Wrong?
Yes.
It was written by a mom and a woman, and there are just tremendous, like 248 references in a 126-page book. And so, wow, that's when, of course, a mom has way more standing than a doctor who's not a mom, which I'm, conceding I'm surrendering to the rest of my time to the speaker. And it's just so cool that on RBN we have this tremendous platform and this ability to cover each thing moment by moment. And I'm grateful to have come across all of these wonderful, listeners that are educated, that are healthy. Like people that are Weston Pricers are so easy to talk to because they don't flip out and start the screaming and the name calling. They're just like, wow, where do I reference that? Or how did you come across this? And, then just sharing the great things that my great grandparents and great greats passed on to me. And it's, we just have to keep on teaching our posterity. And so if anybody did get your economic impact payment, invest in Front Sight in a trust fund for when your posterity turns 11 years old, and make that the super, what shall we call it? Some kind of mitzvah, where it's a coming of, and then you can be there for your friends and your family and your neighbors. And you don't have to be in a spirit of fear, but in power and love and the sound mind that the good Lord gave you. So just a thought.
Okay, well, we got about 15 seconds here. Tell everybody when your show is on.
Oh, cool. Okay, so this is Dr. Kelly, and I host the Grand Jury Reawakening Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific right here on RBN. And thank you for those of you who support this platform and the sponsors here, and really educate yourself as much as possible. And if you want to fly into Reno, let's take a road trip together down to Front Site and get dialed in. Have a good one,
Yeah.
Michael.
The same to you. Thanks a lot. We got to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And welcome back to our show here. We're talking about Joe Biden. We're talking about the fact that Democrats are saying don't let him debate Donald Trump because of the coronavirus, which is pretty weak excuse right there. Apparently, there's a new nickname for him. He's being called Hollow Joe. And there's an article that came on out from madnesshub.com saying the Biden gang must be going for the steal because Hollow Joe may be the worst Democratic candidate in history. I'd put him in second place after Hillary Clinton, depending upon what your definition of worst happens to be. But the Democratic convention is on the 17th, and I'm expecting some rather dramatic things to be happening there as well. Turning to the international news here, Austria has confirmed the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons report on the Skripal case, saying that this claim that Novichok was used to poison Skripal and his daughter Julia was a fake. It was propaganda. And it was all lies and cover up. It was a British invention. We kind of knew anyway. Anyway, Poland says the U.S. will deploy troops on the eastern border. The U.S. announcement of 12,000 troops leaving Germany now sees another scramble to secure U.S. presences. Poland is reported keen to have, let me say that again. Poland is reportedly keen to have a permanent U.S. presence complete with the command. That means more money coming from you, the taxpayer, to Poland. They say at least 1,000 U.S. troops will be involved. That's why these countries all want the U.S. presence. It means money pouring on in, money that will be spent into the local economy here. Polish officials say the troops will be on the eastern border and the command will manage all NATO troops on the Russian frontier. Poland has been courting a U.S. presence for years, suggesting at times they joined NATO specifically for the opportunity to host U.S. troops. Okay, now, over in Iran. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said during his annual Eid al-Adha address that there's no point talking with the United States right now ahead of November because it would only boost Donald Trump. And they're still angry with Donald Trump for unilaterally pulling out of the P5+1 JCPOA deal. And Khamenei further vowed that Iran will only expand its nuclear program, not give it up. Now, here's the important part to remember. When they talk about a nuclear program, Iran, under the terms of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which both Iran and the United States signed and ratified, Iran has the right to peaceful uses of nuclear technology. Power stations, which they've built one, they're in the process of building another. Industrial applications of nuclear technology, like industrial destaticers, medical isotopes, things like that. They're allowed to do it. Furthermore, under Article 2 of the NNPT, the United States is obligated to help Iran build peaceful nuclear facilities like power stations, something the United States has not done. Unfortunately, every time you hear the corporate media talk about Iran's nuclear program, there's always that subtext, they're building bombs. They're building bombs to come get you. So, Iran is imposing sanctions against a former aide to John Bolton for economic terrorism. And Richard Goldberg, a former member of the United States National Security Council, is accused of economic terrorism by Tehran, citing Articles 4 and 5 of the law on confronting human rights violations and terrorist and adventurous acts of the United States in the region. The statement by Iran announced the sanctions as a mean to achieve the objectives of the aforementioned law in imposing sanctions on American entities engaged in economic terrorism against the country. Now, Iran's intelligence chief says the arrested terrorist leader boasted that he was protected by the FBI. Now, Saturday, Iranian authorities apprehended Jamshid Sharmad, the leader of the Thunder terrorist group. The U.S.-based group has carried out several terror attacks inside Iran, including the bombing of a mosque and the assassination of a nuclear scientist, and has called for the violent overthrow of the Iranian government. Yeah, that sounds like a U.S.-backed group to me. U.S. officials were confounded by the Iranian intelligence services operation to capture Thunder leader Jamshid Sharmad. Intelligence Minister Mahmoud Alavi has said, well, that's got to be a huge embarrassment. The reason why they first denied his arrest was they knew he was strongly supported by American and Israeli services, and they considered it unlikely for Iran's intelligence ministry to be able to penetrate their umbrella of support. Well, obviously, they were wrong about that one. But they've got him and he's out there. What arrogance to say, I'm protected by the FBI. The FBI has no authority inside Iran. This guy is in a jail cell, I presume, somewhere in Tehran, and being treated like a terrorist, certainly being treated the way we would treat terrorist suspects. My guess is Iran is going to get a lot of interesting information out of this guy. Down in Turkey, President Erdogan once declared his political mission as raising devout Muslim generations, but apparently in recent years it's shown that young people have defied Erdogan's most ambitious social engineering project, and there is a brain drain going on. Young people are leaving Turkey. They don't see that they've got much of a future there based on Erdogan's plans for a Muslim empire. All righty, over in the Western Pacific, Chinese bombers take to the skies above South China Sea for high-intensity training. And I was looking at some of the photos of their bombers. They're very obviously buying or copying Russian designs. So those are capable bombers out there. China is eyeing suspension of the extradition agreement with New Zealand. Further escalation of the tensions in the area. And this is relating to the situation in Hong Kong. China is reportedly looking at suspending its extradition treaty agreement with New Zealand. Reuters reports that Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin announced the decision at a daily briefing. This is supposedly an act of retaliation after New Zealand suspended its existing extradition treaty with Hong Kong. The two countries do not have a specific extradition treaty in place, which means there is no obligation to extradite. However, there is a discretionary process for ad hoc requests. So it's more symbolic than practical. Okay, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is out there declaring that the Chinese Communist Party canceled Hong Kong's elections because their candidates would get crushed. Yeah, I would say that's definitely going to be an issue there. The people of Hong Kong don't want to be part of mainland China any more than the people of Taiwan do. Okay. Over in Israel, Israel's new unity government was sworn in on the 17th of May following a deal made by political rivals Benjamin Netanyahu, leader of the Likud party, and Benny Gantz, leader of the Blue and White party. Under a power-sharing agreement, Netanyahu will remain as prime minister for 18 months before Gantz takes over in October 21. And already Netanyahu is trying to find some way to get out of it. Now, Israel's coalition chairman, member of the Knesset Mika Zohar, said that the country's government is unable to function and is about to fall apart due to the main coalition party's disagreement on a number of issues. In an interview with local radio station Kan, Zohar said that the feeling right now is that it doesn't matter what we do. It's about to be over between Likud and Blue and White. There's a gaping abyss between us and the Blue and White on many topics at an ideological level. And we cannot really function as a functioning coalition. This is like a couple who wants a divorce and are about to sign on to it any minute, he suggested. And that will leave Netanyahu in power, which is what he wanted all along. Now, Israel is claiming that they thwarted a terrorist attempt to place explosives on the Syria-Israeli border. And the Israeli Defense Forces says it considers the Syrian regime responsible for any action taken in the territory, adding it will not allow any violation of the sovereignty of the state of Israel. This smells like somebody's getting ready to do a false flag. Anyway, the IDF announced it had thwarted an attempt by 4 terrorists to place explosives on the border between Israel and Syria, noting that their troops successfully attacked the terrorists without any casualties to the IDF. Recently, an IDF force thwarted an attempt to place explosives on the border, a special force that ambushed the southern Golan Heights near a military post identified a squad of several terrorists placing explosives near the border fence. All right, so let's talk about the economic news here. Goldman Sachs is out there sounding a warning that the U.S. dollar's days are numbered. Gold price hits a record high. Mike Maloney is saying, is this the beginning of $8,000 gold? Gregor Gregerson, silver is mispriced by orders of magnitude. We've been telling you that for a while. Schiff versus Rickards, is 15,000 gold realistic? Absolutely. Forget about the stock market. I know it looks really good because they're pumping it up, but it can't stay inflated for that long. You want to diversify your investment portfolio into metals, the physical metal in your possession. Don't go for the paper trade. Those things will fall apart the same time as the stock market does. Peter Schiff is out there saying that the new historic and record-breaking fall in gross domestic product numbers, coupled with massive unemployment and the Federal Reserve's excessive money creation, will cause a dollar collapse. Once that happens, the entire house of cards that is the United States will fall. Schiff says people should be prepared for the fall of the U.S. by the end of this year. According to a report by Russia Today, shift, the ignorance of Americans is still present. People are not waking up, unfortunately. That ignorance is likely to remain the case until the fall becomes a crash, which I don't think will begin until the dollar index breaks 80. At its current rate of decline, that level could be breached before year end, perhaps by election day. Okay, another article. This one is coming out of Zero Hedge. The Fed is planning to send money directly to Americans in the next crisis. Over the past decade, the one common theme, despite the political upheaval and growing social and geopolitical instability, was that the market would keep marching higher and the Fed would continue injecting liquidity into the system. Well, that may be the expectation or the theme, but you can't keep that up forever. Second common theme is that despite sparking unprecedented asset price inflation, prices measured across the broader economy would remain subdued. Now, the big news right now is the rent moratorium has expired. They were talking about an extension. That did not happen. Congress has recessed without dealing with that or with the $600 emergency unemployment insurance. So we're starting to see battles between landlord and tenant. Now, from a landlord's point of view, you don't want to evict. You want to have somebody in that building, in that unit, taking care of it, keeping it maintained. And in the current climate, being able to re-rent that is going to be very, very difficult. If people can't pay their current rent, they certainly can't pay a new rent. On the other hand, the landlords themselves are in debt to the banks. It's not like they just took the money out of their pocket to buy that unit. You know, they had to go and get a mortgage on that rental unit and then turn it into a rental unit, which means if the rent isn't being paid, they're not able to make the payments on the mortgage. So as you can see, it's a whole row of dominoes that is getting ready to fall down here. And things are going to get ugly. Article coming out of Zero Hedge, we're screwed. The worst months for both renters and landlords still lie ahead. Rent has barely trickled in across the U.S. over the last couple of months as the country continues to grapple with a decimated economy as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. And we know it's rough out there. I get a lot of emails from people saying, we're going to get kicked out of our home. And I wish there was something more I could do than talk about it. But there really isn't. And you kind of hope that our federal government would do something like extend the moratorium, but they're too busy divvying up the coronavirus bill for military spending to pay attention to the problems of the ordinary American people, apparently. So, and this is according to an article over at Investment Watch blog, be prepared for a massive wave of evictions, food shortage, and starvation. And Claire and I finally got our chest freezer delivered 3 months late. We're starting to stock that up here. But yeah, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. I think the rest of this year is going to be serious, serious, serious trouble. Nearly 30 million Americans are facing food insecurity amid the pandemic, according to the latest data by the Census Bureau. And that's 12.1% of the survey's respondents experienced food scarcity. These are bad times. No two ways about it. These are bad times. Over in Ireland, the Bank of Ireland is now imposing negative rates on cash held in pensions. If you are holding your pension in the Bank of Ireland, you are now officially being charged to do so. I remember the good old days where if you put your money into a bank account, it would grow. They would add more money in there. That was the whole reason to have your money in the bank. Now they're charging you a holding fee. And I'm sure they're going to say, well, you don't want to take that money out of the bank. You don't want to take it home. You could get robbed. Well, I'm already getting robbed. You guys are robbing me. Amazing. All righty. Let's see. A message to our control room here. Talk about social media. Apparently, Madonna's Instagram account has been flagged for spreading misinformation. Apparently, she shared that video about the coronavirus conspiracy to her 15 million followers. Like I said, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. You know something? We should be very, very grateful to people like Madonna and frontline doctors and everybody else who's getting deplatformed for trying to get the truth out there, because we had a saying It's even on one of the coffee mugs available at the What Really Happened online store. The fastest way to bring down a dictatorship is to force them to act like it where everybody can see it. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing it at YouTube. We're seeing it at Facebook. We're seeing it at Twitter. We're seeing it at Instagram. We're seeing it all over these places. That's the dictatorship at work. And it doesn't matter that it's masked as private corporations. They're just doing that to get around that pesky little Constitution and Bill of Rights. But that's the dictatorship right there, controlling what we see, read, and hear. And that's not the United States of America. And so every time there's another deplatforming or somebody gets flagged, whether it's Madonna or whoever, Alex Jones, or Ryan Dawson for that matter, when they get deplatformed, it's just another nail in the coffin of the illusion that we're still a free country here, that we still have freedom of speech. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a phone call from Dave in Maryland. Hello, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Doing fine.
Hey, good, man. It's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're still on the air. You know, you didn't get deplatformed like Zion Frost and, you know, Ryan Dawson. You know, he was acting silly that one day, huh?
Well, I would prefer to use the phrase unprofessional, and, you know, hopefully at some point in the future, you know, things will resolve. But, Dave, stay on the line. Got to take a break for commercials. I'll come right back to you after these 2 words.
Is the Second Amendment your line in the sand? Is the United States Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. Ken Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Dave in Maryland, and I think we're talking about unemployment. So, Dave, take it away.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the $600, the extra money that they was going to try to add to the unemployment, how they cut it off. It was basically like a universal basic income, you know, and it kind of worked out. You know, I kind of worked out for me. Like I made like $10,000 like in my bank account. I got like 10 grand in my bank just from that, from having the money. So I mean, it's funny that it happened under Trump, but I think it's like a good thing though. Like, and you know, if they wanted to cut it off, I mean, now everybody's going to try to act like a certain type of way, and I don't know, like people, they won't go back to work, or like, I mean, it kind of worked out in my benefit, Mike. Like I said, I made like $10,000 from that shit, and it's not over. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse my French.
Watch your language there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know. Hey, look, excuse my French, but I mean, I made like 10 grand from that, and it went right into my bank account, and I cashed it out. It was kind of nice, you know. So, I mean, because I mean, I don't mind working. Like,
Well,
people don't
Dave,
mind working, but then.
Dave, I don't think that was the intended goal of it. I think the goal was that $600 was going to go to people who actually needed it, rather than somebody
I
who's
was making like $1,000. I was making like $1,000. It was $1,000 in my account every week, because I had been on unemployment. Like in January, I got laid off because like my manager was kind of funny. I'm still friends with him now and all that, but you know, so they added another 600 to it. So it was like $1,000 every week that I was getting. And then even today, like it'll go in tonight, it'll be like another at least $500. So I think it's kind of, I don't know, Mike, because if when you go back and you work at these jobs, man, some of these people, they don't appreciate what you do, you know, and people don't mind working hard. But at the end of the day, like when you go there and you show up and you got to like jump through all these hoops, and then nobody's like, you know, the manager or the supervisor, they try to like promise you all this stuff, and then they never come through with it. They always lie. It's almost like, I mean, what's the point? I mean, you know, it's kind of funny. I mean, so why would people go back to work when they got to jump through all these hoops?
Yeah, Dave,
Yeah, sure.
how are you paying for your rent and your food if all of this unemployment money is going into your bank account?
Oh, I got my EBT card. I got my Medicaid. I got all of it. I'm living off the state. I'm getting all my tax money back that I paid into it for the system all these years.
I don't see you as a shining example of how the system is supposed to be working right now.
No, I get you, Mike. But my point is though, like, so I don't know, man. To go back to work, and then you got to jump through all these hoops, and then you got to wear like a mask all day and do all this stuff. I worked in different like factories and different things like that, and you would only have to wear a mask like when you were like pumping in different chemicals and materials, and you could only wear it for like a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Your safety glasses would fog up, and then you would you had to take it off. You only wore it when you had to. So to like wear it 24/7 like at the job site, I mean, put it this way, my cousin, he went to the Disney store the other day at the mall around my house, and he had just like one of those little, like one of those little scarves on, like a little, like, you know, like a little, it's like a little mask you kind of put on. It's like a cloth thing, and they turned him away. They said you can't come back to the store unless you have like a you know, a surgical mask on, and then you walk away.
Dave,
at the end of the day,
we got to let you go.
Yeah, you vote.
Okay,
I know
good
you vote
luck.
with your dollars. You vote with your dollars at the end of
Okay,
the day.
Dave, we got to let you go and take a. We need to get some dollars with a station identification. Back with another phone call after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Before we go back to the phone lines, though, I want to respond to Dave because, you know, he certainly sounded very happy that he was getting this money and putting it in the bank, and he's on EBT, and he's got, you know, all the freebies and everything going in. And maybe he feels good about himself for doing that. But I think what he succeeded in doing, and maybe this was his real intention, was to try and make people who need that $600 a week to make them look like they're just going to waste the money anyway. So, you know, I don't think he's a good example of what the American people are going through right now. He does sound like one of these people who's just riding the system for everything that they can. And that's not an appropriate way to be dealing with this crisis on an individual level. All right, let's go back to the phones here to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, good day to you. Yeah, Mike, first off, 28 shootings in Chicago over the weekend, 9 dead. 5 of them are in very critical condition. So there it goes every weekend, same old, same old. So,
I heard it was 33.
Well, it made it one up. I saw 29 that was last night when I saw that on, I think it was Breitbart. I saw that it was 29 and 9 dead. Maybe it's,
well, one of them's a 9-year-old boy.
Oh, yeah, yes. But also, Michael, did you hear about the 4 police officers who got killed by a guy who was a DACA illegal? DACA, they got killed in a car wreck?
Yep.
How many was that? 4 police officers?
Yep.
And he was drunk, illegal DACA recipient? I don't know. Anyway, Mike, what I wanted to also let you know and your callers know, here in South Florida in the Herald paper, they're talking about these illegal aliens here in South Florida getting better health care than American citizens, like we've been saying for the last 2 years, Mike. They don't have to pay nothing for their insurance, basically. If they need a $100,000 operation, hospital here in Florida, they're notorious for giving operations to illegal aliens. But if it's an American citizen, they're basically what the Herald's saying is that you ain't got too good a chance, but you got to have some great insurance. Hello?
Yes. You're on the air.
Mike? Yeah, so I'm just telling you that Jackson Hospital, if you come to that hospital legally, you're going to have a way better chance of surviving if you came here legally. And forget the coronavirus. And that's another thing, Mike, the coronavirus and Fauci. This Fauci really needs to be arrested because I found out this guy, he's a big Biden supporter. He is a Democrat. He's a Jesuit. This guy Fauci's nothing but a fake and phony. And, you know, in 1968, nobody had put masks on then. Nobody had face shields, Dustin, in 1968 with the Hong Kong flu. Did they, Mike?
No, they didn't. Actually, this face mask thing, this is brand new. They haven't done mandatory face masks, I think, since the 1918 Spanish flu. And even back then, people were resistant to the idea.
Exactly. So this thing here is all about money. It's all about filthy money all these criminal pharmaceutical companies can make. This is a disgrace to our country. I don't know if you had a chance to look at Steve Hilton's show last night, Mike, on Fox, but it was fantastic what he was pointing out. And Trump better get on the ball, and Trump better quit taking orders from these stupid doctors that don't mean nothing. Trump is going to have problems if he keeps listening to Fauci and that Burke's creep. They're creeps. Even though he couldn't even throw the pitch off 90 foot, he threw it 100 feet to the left. He's a leftist. And then he goes on the stands and wears no mask. Well, I want Dustin to call in on that about Fauci. What's this guy Fauci's motive of operandus? What he's really up to? But, Mike, getting really now, what I want to really talk about is getting back to BLM and the three lesbians who started it. Well, they're getting ready to team up with La Raza. Have you heard about that, Mike?
No, I hadn't.
Yes, they're getting. It was on one of the news networks last night that La Raza and BLM are going to unite. It's all about taking down the white power structure of the United States, Mike.
Yep.
This is about everything we're talking about, and all your callers. They need to face reality. It's all about taking down white historical monuments, historical culture, and historical ideology, and the way our governments run. And those Jews in Israel, they're not allowing their monuments be torn down. They're not allowing that Star of David being burnt. And they're surely telling all those Jews to go in those settlements and have 5, 6 kids. Every one of those Jews out in those settlements in Israel, out by the West Bank, are having 6, 7 babies, Mike. Did you know that?
Yes.
They even have sperm banks in Israel where they're artificially inseminating these women. Think about that. They talk about
shades of the Nazis. I mean, the Nazis used to encourage, what they call pure breeding. There was even a medal that went out to the mothers who bore pure Aryan children, usually the wives of SS soldiers and everything. It was called the Honor Cross of the German Mother. And it was a medal that had Hitler's signature on the back of it. And it came in a bronze, silver, and gold, depending upon the number of children that you have. And with it came all kinds of state-sponsored goodies like, picnics and transportation and so forth.
That's right. Well, in Hungary, the president of Hungary, where Soros is from, George Soros, I guess the prime minister or whoever in Hungary is telling all the women there, if you have children, we'll pay you. Just like the French were going to do with Marine Le Pen. I remember like 10 years ago, she was telling, if she became president, she would tell all the French women to have babies to bring back their population and forget bringing all these foreigners in there, and we'll start paying these women to have children. Well, you know what, Mike?
Yeah.
That's really going to start happening. It's going to start happening here in this country. You watch what I tell you. Probably it's going to have to happen. It's going to be forced on this country in the next 20 years somehow. Because, the state of Israel, them Jews are doing it. Believe that. And they're very secular. They want to keep it themselves. Or what's the word, Mike? Not homogenous, I guess? Like Japan?
Yes.
Japanese don't want nobody too much moving in that country, do they? They're very one ethnic group.
Yeah, they believe in racial purity.
And I believe the Chinese also. The Chinese they're the biggest. They're 1.4 billion people there. But in their regard, they want to take land mass because they have such a population, Mike, that they need food. Like you're talking, this is all going to come down to food writing.
Yes.
And food distribution. And like I was telling you a couple weeks back, Mike, if any of these truckers that come down from up north bringing food down to Florida and they start getting shot at on 95 or any of these major highways, they're just not going to bring the food in here. They'll have to bring military convoys in here. Starting the food. I mean, think about it. With this BLM nonsense, the Antifa? No, Trump should do like David Dwight Eisenhower did, Mike. What would Eisenhower done in 1958 if they would have rioted like this?
He would have sent the troops in.
What would Eisenhower? He would have called out the military and had them shot. He would have hung them. Eisenhower didn't play. David Dwight Eisenhower, ladies and gentlemen, did not play. Like Operation Wetback. You all need to check that out. David Eisenhower who was a general in World War II. You think he would have allowed rioting all over the place?
Nope.
He would have squashed it like a bug. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely.
When he was building that highway system in this country, he knew exactly what he was doing too. When it came to mobility of our forces inside the United States and the National Guard, and Eisenhower would never, ever, President Trump stood for this Antifa, Black Lives Matter rioting and burning our cities down. No way. You think they would have went to Lafayette Park doing this crap with Eisenhower? There would have been an open fire. They would have been lit up if Eisenhower would have been president. And these presidents now better smell the coffee and face reality. That you better stop this and put this down like a rabid dog, like I said last week. because these people are rabid dogs, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be squashed like a bug. Basically, that's all I really got to say today, other than the fact that Eisenhower would never have tolerated this, not even Truman or none of these guys. You know?
Yep.
And we're seeing with the media, the communist media. Oh, Mike, one more thing.
Yeah.
I want to tell everybody in your listening audience, ABC, NBC, CBS, Mike, we don't have one network we're the majority of the country. The white Anglo-Caucasians are the majority of the country, and yet we don't dominate one major network on primetime TV. We got to rely on Fox News and One America News. There's something wrong with this equation. And we find out the American public starts waking up, especially the males in this country. We're not going to take it no more. We're getting fed up with this crap, Mike. We need to take one of those. Trump needs to take ABC, NBC, or CBS with the military and take control of one of them right now and start getting his narrative out. Instead of these leftist, Bolshevik, communist, pig, demon rats
Please watch
ideology.
your language.
How dare the
Please
minority tell
watch
the
your
majority what to
language.
do?
Please watch your language.
I didn't use no profanity, Mike. I didn't use
Yes,
no profanity.
You probably didn't realize it, but yes, you did. Okay. Anyway, listen,
Well,
I understand
Mike,
the passion that you have here. And, Trump, of course, was trying to get past ABC, CBS, and NBC with Twitter, but now Twitter is censoring him as well. And so it's got to be tough to be the president of the United States of America and not be able to communicate with your own people.
Well, yes, sir. Thank you, Mike. I'm sorry if I did that. I got a little carried away. I understand. I get a little emotional when I think about ABC, NBC, and CBS running narrative on our country over the majority. It just disgusts me, Mike. And,
Yes, it is.
we'll see what happens now when Biden makes this VP pick. We'll see how that's going to play out. I think he's going to
Well-
pick Rice. I think it's going to be Rice.
Well, maybe,
Why not,
but now they're backing off saying it's going to happen this week, and it may not even happen until the convention. And, I'd like to see Duckworth get it, to be very honest.
Well, she might. I mean, well, she got a Purple Heart, so he might do that. But my opinion, I think he's going to pick Susan Rice because she's Obama from the old Obama administration, and I think that's where it's going to go because Biden knows she was loyal to Obama, and he always plays off Obama. So I think we'll see. It could be Camilla, could be what's the other one? Bass. I don't know. I think it's going to be Susan Rice, Biden and Rice.
Well, we'll find out.
Well, we'll see.
I wonder what the Las Vegas
sir.
odds makers are saying.
That's a good bet. That would be a good bet. Yep, absolutely. But I'm sorry I got a little carried away, Mike. But I think about all these networks getting away with bloody murder makes me really sick. And Steve Hilton was really right on the money last night. Right on the money. He was great. His show was wonderful last night to hear him. And Trump doesn't get off. Trump doesn't get off what he's doing, calling all this really out. Yeah, I think he's going to have a problem, Mike. Tell you, we'll see.
Well, like I said, the latest polls have him ahead. The latest polls have him ahead, and that's in an environment where they're trying to push the polls toward Biden the way they pushed the polls toward Hillary in 2016.
Yes, sir. That's correct. You're right. You're right. All right, Mike. Well, I know you got other callers, so I know I got a little emotional sometimes, but I can't help it. I just know if we had a guy like Eisenhower or even Truman, we wouldn't be having these riots with BLM and Antifa. That would never be happening. No way.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know Eisenhower got rid of a lot of illegals out of the country. His administration.
Oh yeah,
So,
Operation Wetback.
yes, it was. I believe it was close to almost 2 million, if I'm not mistaken. And he did it with yellow bird school buses. Took all the school buses he could get, yellow birds, and started heading them south.
Yep.
Now, and Mike, one more thing. You have 2 million more voters in these counties that are going to be voting, and I think a lot of them are illegal aliens.
Well, that's why we got to
another
bring
thing.
back voter ID laws.
Yes, sir. Absolutely correct. Absolutely. So, all right, Mike. Thank you for your time, and sorry about getting a little emotional, but I know you got other calls.
All right.
Have a great day.
We understand. All right. Same to you. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. The lines are full, so let's clear a few more calls off so more of you can get on in. Let's go to James in Vancouver. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, good afternoon. I just wanted to say Tom has a brilliant voice for radio. I really enjoy listening to him. No, he's like the Paul Harvey, Jack Smith. Anyway, I did some calculations on the medicinal ingredients of a popular tonic water. It contains, I won't say the name, but it contains 83 milligrams of quinine.
Yes.
So I took that 83 milligrams and divided through by the molecular weight of quinine, which is roughly 342. I took that number and multiplied it by 1 mole. It turns out that a can of tonic water with quinine has 1.5 times 10 to the 20 molecules of quinine in it. And given that the human body has maybe only as much as 10 to the 11th cells in it, that dose of quinine would be pretty good.
Well, I've had a lot of people write on in and say you don't need the hydroxychloroquine, you just need any kind of quinine at all, because quinine became popular because it was antimalarial. And that's what the hydroxychloroquine does.
The hydroxychloroquine structure, though, is different. It has a chlorine group on it. It also has an amine group in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And the amine group is, as you know, highly reactive.
Yes.
I'm not. It might be toxic to some people, but just given the simplicity of this tonic water and the quinine, if I had a fever right now, I'd definitely try it to see what it would be like. Anyway, I just thought I'd pass that along. Sorry?
I said, me too. I absolutely would give that a try if I was running a fever. If I thought I was coming down with COVID-19, I'd definitely, get out the tonic water before I tried anything else.
You can get them in a 6-pack, as you well
Yes, you
know.
can.
A couple 6-packs of tonic water and you're set. You're okay. Nobody
Okay,
needs
anything
this
else?
vaccine. I mean, well, I was reading about the Georgia Guidestones. I finally found that thing. They want 500 million people on the earth.
Yes.
What do we got now? 7 billion right now?
Yep.
They want to get rid of 6.5 billion people. Are they serious?
They're serious.
No, not this cowboy. I grew up in cowboy country, and
Good war, good pandemic, and they'll just trim right down.
well, I can see the war coming. That's pretty obvious. But anyway, I could tell you more, but I'll let you go. I'll try to call you back again sometime about war stories. I had a buddy who was in the Marines in World War II. He told me all about it. But that's another day then.
That's another day. All right. Well, listen, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. Thank you for the information about the tonic water. And we're going to switch over to Daniel in British Columbia. Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, aloha, Mike. I just started seeing a pattern with this Black Lives Matter situation. I don't know. I just started seeing some weird things happen. Like there was a Spike Lee movie about the KKK and David Duke that came out on Netflix last year, and I kind of thought that was a little bit much. I mean, it's so in your face, white man bad, black man good type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing was, and they just banned David Duke on Twitter, I think yesterday.
Imagine my shock.
Yeah. There was something called Who Killed Malcolm X? And this was produced just before this George Floyd situation.
Okay.
So all of a sudden you get this, you get the Obamas and Susan Rice join the board of directors of Netflix. Then you get all these, sort of race baiting documentary series and so forth and movies. And you get the George Floyd situation all of a sudden occur. You get Black Lives Matter, which was almost declared a terrorist organization during the Obama administration. There was a petition to the White House to have it declared after some Dallas cops were killed. 5 Dallas cops were shot dead. So that was back in 2015, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, you got they're funded to the tune of $140 million now, and they're just mainstream, as you know. Black Lives Matter, and you can't say anything bad about it, even though you got that Susan Rosenberg, the ex-bomber who got 58 years in prison and got pardoned by Clinton. She's doing the funding for Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, 100 days before Trump gets elected, this John Lewis congressman just happens to die. And for your listeners, don't know who this guy is. He was a friend, I guess, or inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. And he was sort of this civil rights activist that became a politician. And I just find it a little bit funny, the timing that he just happened to die. And then Trump didn't get invited to his funeral. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.
All right, thanks. We got to take a break for commercials. More callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. 10 Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to David in Boston. Hello, David. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Hey, Michael, I wanted to get to what the other fellow calls George Soros and Alex Jones, but the first thing I wanted to clarify, I raked Alex Jones over the coals the end of last week, but one thing I want to clarify is that diabolical devil, he's very, very clever. And a technique he uses is what I call taking like human shields, like high-value target human shields. And what I mean by that is he surrounds himself with very excellent people that I have the highest regard for, like David Knight, or the fellow from Alaska there. Yeah, how come I can't think of his name? But anyways, everyone, Begich, Nick Begich, and Owen Schroyer, and Billy Weaver, and and then he has on a nice gentleman like Joel Skousen. So he's a diabolical genius. He surrounds himself with these really wonderful people, these really high quality people of really exceptional character and everything. So that's what I mean by he surrounds himself with human shields. But the one fellow mentioned George Soros, but there's a perfect example of this misinformation agent, Alex Jones. I meet a lot of young people up here in Boston. I really get around. I go to student lounges, although they're closed now because of COVID-19. But I take the public transportation. I'm waiting for trains and the subway and everything. I talk to a lot of people, but most of the young people I talk to, I ask them if they ever heard of Alex Jones, and some of them have. And then if I ask them about George Soros and everything, he says, "Oh yeah, that's that German bastard. That's that Nazi bastard and everything." But Jones intentionally gives the impression that Hungarian Jew named Georgi Schwartz, who actually took the name Soros, the reason he took the name Soros is he actually fancies himself that he is the holy serpent of the Jews. And if you're not familiar with that, Tex Mars wrote a book before he passed away, The Holy Serpent of the Jews. And the Holy Serpent of the Jews has a name, the Oberos. The Oberos. So see, this Soros is like an anagram of the Oberos. So in other words, Alex Jones, and this is just one of many examples I could give. He complete disinformation, like George Soros is German. He's an evil, just another evil German. The woods is full of these evil Germans, and he never ever indicates Soros's true background as a Hungarian Judeo anti-Christian. And if you don't know what a Judeo anti-Christian is, they're commonly called Jews. And he intentionally took that name Soros because in his megalomaniacal ego, he actually fancies himself the holy serpent of the Jews, the son of Oberos. George Soros, the son of the Oberos, the holy serpent of the Jews. And a lot of people aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but there's a few out there that will know what I'm talking about, that maybe are familiar with Tex Mars and maybe even read his book, The Holy Serpent. And Tex Mars never, he didn't reveal this in his book. He never connected the dots between the Oberos and Soros. But anyways, I just want to clarify. It bothered me because I said, I hope, the last thing I'd ever want to do is disparage those wonderful people. Like they're such nice. I have the highest regard for Nick Begich and David Knight, and I really like Owen Schroyer and Billy Weaver, and then Joel Skousen. He's such a mild-mannered, soft-smoking gentleman that Alex Jones should be ashamed of himself. That Joel Skousen can never even answer one of Jones's questions. Jones will ask him a question, and Joel Skousen, being the mild-mannered gentleman that he is, will just calmly respond. And then that big bully Jones is just walking all over. We can never hear what Joel Skousen's answer is. We're all waiting we want to hear what Joel Skousen has to say about maybe this impending World War III and everything. And that big bully's just walking, won't let him answer, just walking all over him and everything. And anyways, the last thing I'll say, Michael, is there's an expression. Sometimes a big personality like Alex Jones is very often described as, Alex Jones has a personality that's larger than life. We've all heard that saying about people that just have such a big, charismatic, magnetic personality that's larger than life. Well, I describe Alex Jones' personality as larger than death. He's not larger than life, but he is larger than death. And I guess that's all I have to say, Michael. I didn't want anyone to think that I was disparaging the human shields that Jones surrounds himself with.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that
Okay.
phone call. And we're going to let you go here. We're coming up here on a commercial break, so I'm going to leave the rest of the calls until after we come back from it. And meanwhile, of course, let's see, Twitter representative admits to flagging President Trump, but not the genocidal leader of Iran. Like I said, when you can see the dictatorship days are numbered, and we're there. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials, more phone calls on the other side. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, this is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Hey, Mike, first of all, I just want to thank you. I think that was real good letting me and Justin debate the other day. Justin debate the other day. That might not be a bad thing for your show, all in all, to have more of these between people if, who disagree. But, again, that's up to you. But I just want to bring up something about what's this called that Dave said before. Well,
Yeah.
it's very interesting because I think this is happening quite a bit. You know, it's backfiring on these banksters and these other technocrats and all that. They think by, you know, giving all this money out like this, people are going to spend it on garbage, mostly like these tech stuff, you know, maybe another Apple phone or some other garbage like that. Okay, but it's not happening. People are saving finally, you know, and that's good. That's a good thing that people are saving. It's putting it into the bank, maybe buying gold and silver with it, doing something else like that, you know. So I agree with you. What are you saying? You know, why not? After all, I don't want to see this money going to all these billionaires like it's going. You know, it really pisses me off when I see that Bezos, for instance, has made something like over $30 billion since this thing is there. And all these billionaires have made hundreds of billions of dollars more since it, you know, since the whole COVID thing started, the lockdowns and all that. So I'd rather see regular people make the money, you know? It doesn't bother me at
Well,
all.
here's, you know, Dave, I got a lot of email about Dave, and I'm going to read you one right here. I think either Dave's a troll or an idiotic socialist who doesn't realize that what he thinks he's getting for free from the government, he's actually paying for in the long run, as well as any of his descendants. Now, to that, I would add, so are the rest of us. Everybody listening to this show who pays taxes, you know, that's where the money comes from that goes to people like Dave. Now, if Dave really needed the money, if he needed that extra $600 a week, you know, to keep a roof over his head and keep his family fed, that's one thing. And I'm sure nobody would begrudge him that. But for him to come on this show and talk about, oh, how he's getting the EBT card and he's getting this and he's getting all of his tax money back this year. And he's, you know, he's putting $1,000 in the bank every month, every week rather, you know, you get a little bit nervous and start saying, wait a minute, why is this guy doing so well when I'm struggling just to get by? And so I don't think he came across quite the way he intended to.
Yeah, but you know, Mike, there's also a lot of people that really do need it. There's a lot of people that do.
I understand that, but Dave didn't come across as one of those.
On top of that, they're making, I think he did mention something about this. On top of that, they're going back to these jobs and they got to wear these stupid masks now for 8 hours, sometimes longer. Okay. And they're not very happy about that. And they're threatened with being fired if they don't wear the stupid things. So I can understand a lot of these things. And meanwhile, they're making those same lousy wages that they were making before, while corporations like Walmart, who employ a lot of people, they've made such unbelievable profit. Or one of our good friend Bezos again, billions and billions of dollars, and he pays his employees garbage, okay, and works you know what out of them on top of it, you know. So you know, like I said, I got no use for these billionaires. I got no use for this establishment. I'd like to see these big tech companies, especially. I want to see them brought down personally, Mike. I want to see them smashed to the ground, and then I'd like to see, like, you know, Carthage had the salt rubbed into it so it wouldn't come back. That's what I'd like to see happen to Amazon. That's what I'd like to see happen to Facebook, Twitter, Apple, the whole bunch. Get rid of them. That's my thing. Whatever it takes to destroy these corporations is fine with me. And if people start saving the money instead of spending on junk, I'm all for that. All right. And I definitely don't want these cars by these electric cars either, because I don't trust them. I don't want the 5G. I don't want any of this stuff. And I feel sure a lot of other people don't either. And yet, you know, they keep on, you know, pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So I don't know. I'm just, you know, like I said, I think I can maybe he sounded a little, I don't know, arrogant the way he said it, but he's and there's a lot of people that are doing this now. A lot of people are saving money, and this goes against what the globalists want. And by the way, as far as gold and silver, smart, so buy some. I'm looking to buy some silver if I can. More silver than gold, because I think you can get more for your money with silver. That's what I was going to ask you that. Where can I get? Is it safe to go to a store and buy it around in your area, or is it better to buy it online? You gotta buy
It's probably safer to go to a store because you know where they are, and if there's a problem, you can go back there. If you buy it online and it turns out that you've gotten some fakes or something, usually you'll find that the person you bought from online is no longer there. So, you know,
what kind of store would sell us silver? Like a pawn shop or something?
pawn shops may have it, but there are coin dealers. There are coin dealers who will sell investment coins. They're not numismatic value. And there are some places that are simple metal exchange. When we lived on Oahu, there was a place called Kama'aina Gold and Silver. They're no longer in business. They retired. And we did most of our trade with them, and we never had a problem because we established a personal relationship with them. Going online, there's definitely a risk. There's a lot of fakery out there, and the more that gold and silver become valuable, the more fakery you will see. And there's a lot of fakes coming out. I mean, remember those gold bars that showed up in Germany with tungsten cores? There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of silver being debased with lead. So you do have to be very careful. Not everybody can afford their own assay machines to know what they're dealing with.
So how would you know if you're dealing with some, let's say laced with lead or something like that? Any way of knowing that?
Well, you can do what Aristarchus did, which is, the density. There are probably some online resources where you can find out, how to tell the purity of silver and gold. And but the best way is to deal with a dealer where you know where they are. They've got a brick and mortar presence where if there is an issue, you can go back there and you can say, I think there's a problem, because most of these dealers live and die on their reputation. They're not going to knowingly try and cheat you because that means they'd have to shut their doors and go someplace else. And that's very expensive.
I appreciate it, Mike. That's really good to know, because I'm really thinking about doing that now, because I'm really starting to freak out now. This really looks like it's going to be going from bad to worse. And there's no telling where we're going to be by the end of the year, And as far as the vaccine, no way. But you know what? It's funny. The Russians say they got a vaccine. Believe it or not, if I had it, I wouldn't take either. But if somebody gave me a choice, you can take our vaccine, you can take a Russian vaccine. I'd take the Russian vaccine, because
agreed.
The country is too corrupt and just interested in making money. Russia is a little bit different. I don't know if it's owned by the government, but it's strictly supervised at the same time. So, all right, that's it, Mike. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. And I understand that Dave called back in from Maryland. He wanted to respond to some of what we were saying here. So, Dave, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Mike. Yeah, I'm still here, Mike. Yeah,
Okay, well, what's on your mind?
I wanted to talk about how you kind of disparaged me, man. You kind of, put it this way. So after I hung up, Tom called in, right? And what did Tom say? That all these illegal immigrants are getting free health care, free welfare, free everything, right? And they're illegal immigrants, right? I've lived in this. I was born in the United States. I've worked here, and I've worked my butt off my whole life, right? So what's the point then? Like I'm getting back what I paid into the system. I don't see how you can see that's a bad thing. Like if you're gonna sit there and be like, okay, well, the illegal immigrants shouldn't get all this stuff and da 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 da, but they are. So what's wrong with me trying to get a little bit back from the system?
I think it's basically the same thing.
I can play my cards right?
Okay, Dave.
I played my cards right, Mike.
This is a card game. Like I said, I think the way you came across alienated a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of negative email on you, where you come across as somebody who wants to game the system and have somebody
$1,000 a week like I did.
Okay, see, the thing is, this isn't you getting your money back from the system. This is you getting money from the system that's paid in by other people, and I think that's why you've rubbed them the wrong way.
Okay, so those same people that are talking back to you or emailing you, even if they really are, they're against illegal immigrants getting money, correct?
Yes.
But me as a U.S. citizen that's lived here my whole life, worked in all these jobs, these factories, done everything, voted for Trump, with the high-paying manufacturing jobs are coming back, all this stuff, right? So what?
Okay.
It didn't ever happen. So what's wrong
Dave,
with me getting getting mine back?
Dave, one question. Dave, one question. Do you really need all this free stuff you're getting? Or could you work for a living?
I'm not getting free stuff. I'm getting
You said you were
petrol
getting
dollars, and I'm keeping them in my account.
$1,000. You know, you're getting the $600 a week. Do you really need this stuff, or you're just piling it up in the bank? I think the way you came across is
Right,
what
I'm taking my
alienated
petrol
people.
dollars.
Okay.
I'm stacking
Dave,
my petrol dollars up. I'm getting mine. Oh, and
All right.
one more thing different, Mike. One more thing. The one guy talked about John Lewis that passed away.
Yeah. Hello, you there? I think we lost him. All right, let's go to Ray in Indiana. Hello, Ray. Welcome to the show. Are you getting the thunder and lightning overhead that we are right now? Hello, we seem to have lost something.
Mike.
Yes. Is
Can
this
you hear
Ray?
me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
is this
it is.
Ray? Okay, good, Ray.
Yes, it is.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
They were talking. You and Claire were talking about the military and the COVID vaccine Friday, thinking that and Claire was under the impression that Trump was going to be using the military to enforce the vaccination. I heard that about a month or so ago when he first brought it up, and I heard left wing TV, MSNBC, and some other people talking. He said he would get the military involved, and the way he said that, I was under the impression he was going to have the military take the vaccine first, because legally he can force them to take a vaccine, and he never once said he was going to force the general public to take the vaccine. I honestly don't think they're going to be able to find a vaccine, and they're definitely not going to find one by the end of the year, like some people are talking. But like I said, I heard that there was a press conference or something where it came up, and he said get the military involved. Is all he really said. And but I understand how Claire made the mistake and all that. But that was on Friday's show, and I heard that. I listened to the podcast, and I didn't get a chance. It's my first chance to call back in on that. And so it's just a minor detail. I honestly do not believe Trump is going to force the general public to take a vaccine, but he can force the military to take them, and that would be a perfect test subject. You know, because my understanding, the military is having a hard time with it right now.
Yes, they are.
You've made several. Yeah, and so it makes perfect sense that he'd have the military do the vaccine first. But I think you said that you're not going to take it. I have no intention of taking it either. I don't take the flu shot. I'm scared to death of they've made mistakes in the past, and anything they rush through that quick with is not going to work, I don't think. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. I hope you don't. And then one other quick thing, just a minor detail, more lines of anti-racism, which I don't like. I've heard you say the term call the kettle black, and the pot called the kettle black. Mm-hmm. That is really a racist term, back from when it was an insult to call somebody black.
Well, actually, that's from the days of iron.
I thought it was from the days of when slavery, and Jim Crow in the South and all that. But you're saying, okay. But yeah, because it was an insult to call somebody black. Just calling them black was an insult.
Well, if you think about the phrase "the pot calling the kettle black," the whole point of that statement is to say how silly it is to do so. You know, if we're all the same color.
Right. But I'm just giving you a heads up that there's going to be people who call that a racist statement, and I've heard you use it several times on the radio. So I'm surprised somebody. Yeah.
I mean, you know, right now everybody is talking about, everything's racist here. Apparently, this Black Lives Matter activist Sean King now wants to tear down all the statues of Jesus Christ because, after all, he's white. and that's racist to think that Jesus is white, which actually genetically I tend to agree with that. But I mean, at this point, everything is being under attack right now. I'm surprised that they haven't gone after Lincoln's face on the penny.
You're right. And well, I do not think you're racist. I'm not calling you a racist. And and I love your show. And thanks for letting me chime in. And keep up the great work.
All right, thanks a lot. Same to you. We're going to go to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, that's not a racist. The pot calling the kettle black, that metaphor or whatever it is, it's a metaphor, I guess. That's used by all the mainstream media and all the New York Times and everybody else for ages. It has nothing to do with race. Although I really don't understand it, to be honest with you, except it means if somebody's calling you something and then you're saying they're calling you something because they're actually that, it's like projection or whatever. But anyway, exactly. I wanted to address what Mark, I'll tell you, a good company, Colorado Gold. It's online. And they've been in business for a long time. I don't think they've ever ripped anybody off or had any problems. And they will take care of you. It's a family business. Colorado Gold. It's cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to do that than go to the. In my experience, anyway, you're not going to get a good deal at a coin shop. So I just throw that out there. But we should change it. The tide is turning on this mask. You got Holland. Holland is saying they don't want masks. It's bad for their pragmatic, they're tolerant people.
Listen, Don, hang on the phone. Yeah, we got to take a break with commercials. I'm going to come right back to you right after these few words.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet, also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit. How can I order my Ease Off? Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to Don in Arizona. We were talking about gold and silver, and then I think, Don, you started talking about the masks and how a lot of countries in Europe, like Holland, are saying they really don't work. We're not going to mandate them anymore.
Right. Holland's not mandating, and Germany, yesterday, Germany had a huge demonstration. I only saw it reported on the Ron Paul Liberty Report, and they showed a clip. Supposedly there was 1 million people, 1 million Germans demonstrating, saying, we don't want to shut down, nobody wearing a mask, they just had enough of it. And so, I mean, Europe, it looks like Northern Europe is pretty much, Richie Allen, your buddy there in England, he's not wearing one.
Yeah.
He almost got in a fight. And masks, he even said that one guy got on an airplane. The thing is, you got the ball, you got the cards in you're holding the cards because they can't make you wear a mask. Now the question is, are they going to let you on the airplane? You can say, well, I have a health condition. I mean, they let people, don't they let people with asthma and stuff like that on even on oxygen? They still let them fly normally, don't they? Once in a while.
Yeah, but asthma is not contagious.
The what?
Asthma is not contagious.
No, but I mean, if somebody's got real bad lung problems, they're not going to wear a mask. That's what I'm saying. If they can't, they might die. They might gag and start dying, and they'd have liability. That's the whole point. And they can't ask you if you say you have a health problem. You're protected in America. You're protected by the Fourth Amendment. They can't ask you your medical history. You don't have to tell them. So basically, I mean, like Walmart's going to let you in if you just tell them you got a medical problem, and then your only problem is if somebody else wants to confront you inside there, and they won't. I mean, I go in and I was in there today at Walmart. I told the guy I had a medical problem. He said, "Okay." That was at the end of the story. I just walked in, and if somebody, I don't try to confront anybody about it. I'm not trying to get in a fight. All I want to do is go in there and not wear a mask and buy my stuff and get out of there. So, and there are other stores are the same way. And then you become known as exempt. At least it's that way in this state, in Arizona. You're exempt. And the people that work there in some of the smaller shops, they know who you are. You're exempt. And that's it. And hopefully someday everybody will be exempt. That's what I'm hoping for, because I don't like this. The life is over. The way that things are now, there is no life. There's no live music. There's no theater. There's no good stuff. There's no sports. You can't go play basketball down at the damn basketball court if you're a kid. They have to have a way to get their energy off. They have to have basketball. They have to have gyms, especially old people like you and me. It's not half as bad. There's bad enough for me too. I mean, what the hell? I'm supposed to be living my golden years, and now they're saying I can't even go shoot pool or anything. So what the hell? I would like to see it. I mean, and there's no. They're not even saying, well, there's a time. Here's our time. This is when it's going to end or anything like that. So I'll let you go, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, the music's playing here. My apology to Miles. I couldn't get to you today. Please call in again tomorrow. And stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We are desperate for your help. Just keep doing what we're doing. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.